Dr. Tangaraj is basically a human geneticist, got trained under Algesic. He is a senior scientist and a group leader in Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology, one of the premier institutions in the country. His major area of research is on biology of humans, particularly the work relating to reconstructing Indian population history, reconstructing the origin of Andamans and Islanders. He has also focused on genetic diseases, particularly population-based studies on genes associated with diseases such as cardiomyopathy, particularly the cardiac myosin binding protein C mutations. He has also focused on male infertility, particularly with respect to the androgen receptor mutations, sperm mitochondrial gene changes. He has also tried to correlate violent criminal behavior with the reduced CAG repeats on pitch lengthen androgen receptor. And he has recently published genetic mutations relating to protein, thrombospondin related protein, THSD7A mutations, and obesity in Indian population, or particularly South Indian population, which has appeared in International Journal of Obesity. And for the first time, he has come up with genetic study relating the Ayurvedic personal trait, the Prakriti, which has been widely discussed, a recent publication which has been widely discussed. And in fact, a newspaper here has written an editorial citing that work. And this apparently is part of a multicentric outcome of a multicentric study. As you know, the Ayurvedic biology PAC was constituted in Department of Science and Technology and provided initially 50 crores of rupees, led by Professor M.S. Vijithan, which took up multicentric studies. And this publication, Dr. Tangaraj was the key person, was the senior author of that publication. With these few words, I would request Dr. Tangaraj to deliver the lecture.
Thank you, Chairperson, for the introduction. So thank the organizers for inviting me to give a talk here. I'm not a bioinformatics person, so you have to forgive me. But I used some tools, particularly large number of statistical tools, for come up with this publication. So Ayurveda, I think I don't have to go into detail, particularly for this place, but for those who are new to Ayurveda, in fact I was also new to that before I entered into this subject. So the Ayurvedic philosophy maintains that the people are born with a specific constitution which is called Prakriti. So like the genetic constitution which we born and die with, similar. The Prakriti established at conception is viewed as a unique combination of physical and psychological characteristics that affects the way each person functions. Doshas form important characteristics of the Prakriti or constitution. These doshas are called as Vata, Pitta and Kapha. These are the three major classifications. And each of these dosha, what we discussed, is comprised of 2 of the 5 basic elements. Like here in Vata, ether and air constitutes this. Pitta, fire and water. Kapha, water and ether. The classification is based on thorough examination, which includes observation of one's facial features, body build, way of walking, speech pattern, pulse, and many other questions are there in order to classify these prakritis. And these are some of the key information each prakriti has. The pitta dominant people enjoy an efficient metabolism and appetite, and they are considered intelligent, aggressive achievers, and they also must be on guard against bleeding disorders, inflammation, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, rashes and anger. And Vata people are quick, alert and restless. They may walk, talk and think quickly. However, Vatas tend towards nervousness, fear and anxiety. The cup of dominant people, they are strong but loving, tenacious but calm, and are blessed with wise tolerance. They are susceptible to weight gain, lethargy, excessive sleep, writer and many other things. So now broadly, each one of us can put in only one of these. Right? However, it's not very simple. The prakritis are always mixed in every individual. We are not pure for specific prakriti. Like you can't say that this person is 100% pitta or 100% vata or 100% kapha. It's always a mixture with a different proportion. That's why it's very difficult to assess. And this is being followed, this Ayurvedic medicine, for thousands of years. But very little is known about the scientific basis of this classification and also the treatment. Because the people are classified into 3 categories, and the treatment is based on which prakriti this person belongs to. Therefore, it's very, very critical. So, in order to come up with some scientific basis, as the chairperson mentioned, Professor Valiyadan, he made an initiative and he invited people, and there was a brainstorming meeting in Principal Scientific Advisor to Government of India. Then there were many projects evolved in that meeting, and there are 3 groups along with the Ayurvedic physicians. So we have come up with this particular project called Genomic Variation Analysis of Human Dosha Prakriti based on principles of Ayurveda. So there are 3 institutes involved: CCMB, Manipal University and Indian Institute of Science. So my proposal was based on the genomic variation. Whether using genomic variation, can we classify the people who have already been classified based on the prakriti? And Manipal University, for Satyamurthy, he proposed to look at methylation profile or epigenetic variation, whether there is a different pattern of variation between these prakriti. Professor Kondaya, he was trying to look at the gene expression profile of these 3 different individuals. Of course, with the help of FR LHT Bangalore, Srikant College of Engineering Pune and the SDM College of Ayurveda in Udupi. And actually nothing but the modern pharmacogenomics. Pharmacogenomics are aware that based on the genetic variation of the individual, and one can predict and assess how they are going to respond to the drug. Okay, so now this is being in practice, like there's a genetic variation in some of the genes which metabolize the drug. If there is some variation, it might be hyperactive or it might be toxic rather than giving therapeutic effect. So in the sense, you can also say that it's kind of ancient pharmacogenomics, what our forefathers were practicing. So in the typical example, you can see where the drug dose can be altered based on the genomic variation. There is a gene called vitamin K epoxidase reductase complex 1, which is a target gene for warfarin. And earlier people used to give different dose of warfarin. This is an anticoagulant drug, very small quantities, then increased and optimized. And this is a retrospective study, it was published quite some time ago, where they identified this gene as a target gene for warfarin. So they sequenced the individuals who have been treated earlier, collected the data from the hospitals, and made, based on the mutations, they made a haplotype. And H1 haplotype, you see that CCGATCTCTG, the individuals with this haplotype required or have been optimized with the 2.9 milligram of warfarin per day. Whereas the individuals who are falling in haplotype H7, you can see there are several variations, C to T here, then A to G here, okay, T to C, C to G, T to C and G to A. So a lot of variations in these individuals. But they require double the dose, 6 milligram of that. The dose is dependent on the variation which we carry. Because this is a modern practice of pharmacogenomics. So with this concept, we had collected large number of samples with very well defined selection criteria. There were 3 stages where the samples were collected. I mentioned that evaluating Prakriti is very difficult, particularly when there is a mixed Prakriti. What is the proportion of all these 3? And the subjects are all normal males between 20 to 30 years. All of them are students and they are healthy. And we excluded the individuals where with smoking habit, diabetes, hypertension and any other chronic diseases. So that means obviously they are very healthy individuals. And they are first evaluated by Ayurvedic, trained Ayurvedic physicians. Then there is also AyuSoft developed by CDAC. After this, they have to go to the AyuSoft, they have to address the question asked by computer. Then these 2 are independently handled. Then they were put together, and most of the individuals are in concordance by both the analysis by the one who had taken. That means very thorough analysis, because the starting material should be very, very important. So that means the classification of Prakriti is in concordance, therefore that must be the right one. Then I mentioned that we always have mixed Prakriti, and here we took the individuals with at least 60% and above of one particular Prakriti. 60% of the, let's say, Vata, other 40% with a different combination of Pitta and Kapha. Okay, and 60% and above, considering that whosoever is falling 60% of one particular Prakriti, we consider that that is the dominant Prakriti. Then we looked at the different centers, Udupi, and these are the concordance of both Ayurvedic physician analysis and Ayusoft. The 71% here in Pune, probably the physicians are well trained. 80% are in concordance, here 75%. So altogether around 75% are in concordance by both analysis. So large number of samples were initially screened, 3000 plus, and concordance is 2000 something, and 25%, approximately less than 25% are left out with the further analysis. And the distribution, again there is a difference exists between the centers. Pune, Vata is predominant, whereas in Udupi, Kapha is predominant. I don't know what was the reason for that. Again, these numbers, and overall put together, Pitta is very less, 18%. That means Pitta are with high metabolism. Okay, so basically people with the high metabolism are very less in number, at least in Indian subcontinent. And these two are almost equal, Vata and Kapha. And these are the center I told, Pune, Bangalore and Udupi. Although we collected the sample from these three centers, but the samples have come from almost all over India, but predominantly from south and southwest regions, because there are students who probably must have come from these places. Now from 3000 plus normal healthy males, we selected individuals with more than 60% of one particular Prakriti. Now they are 971. From that, we again selected individual with higher percentage of one Prakriti and selected initially 300 sample, that is on average 100 per Prakriti. But there was some failure, therefore the final number is 262, Vata 94, Pitta 75 and Kapha 93 samples. The sample number is less because we are using 1 million genetic markers with the expensive analysis, therefore we could not include more number of samples. However, we used additional sample for validating some of this analysis. And in this plot you can see this is the percentage of Prakritis, Vata 60% and above, this is the average one, maybe 62% and more. In this case Pitta almost same, and here Kapha average is around 70 here. Okay, so these are the samples. Then we used Affymetrix array 6.0, which contained 1 million genetic markers, 1 million SNPs and nearly 1 million copy number variants. Okay. So we used different procedure. I am not going to details. Finally, we analyzed with the Affymetrix chip. And we used several softwares for data analysis, fetching the genotype. Affymetrix itself provides large number of softwares like Affymetrix Genotype Console 2.0, Gene Chip operating software, Affymetrix Gene Chip Command Console, Golden Helix, that's also provided by Affymetrix. Then we use P-Link and R package for fetching the genotype and constructing the pictures. Birdsuit, which was developed by Broad Institute at US, that is to remove copy number variant code. Sometimes without Birdsuit, if you do the analysis, you might end up with some abnormal result. Therefore, we have to remove all the copy number variant probe and go for the analysis. And this is the frequency of genotype, where you can see about 94 and 95% of the genotypes are perfect. There are some individuals who showed less than 94%. So that means there are large number of genotype was missing, and we eliminated some of the individuals. Then we validated randomly picking up some of the SNPs using another method called Viracode assay. We took 48 SNP from 48 individuals, randomly we picked up and did another method. So here we use 1 million SNPs in the Affymetrix array, and we know that which SNP we are taking, and we analyzed and we found that 99.61% concordance observed between the Affymetrix one and further genotyping. Therefore, whatever the information we got, that is very clear. Then there was also problem which generally we face when you use large number of markers, 1 million markers. There could be failure in few markers, okay, either signal problem or hybridization problem. Therefore, what people used to use is they impute the missing genotype comparing with the known genotype. And in this case, what we did, we compared the genotype of our genotype with existing HapMap samples. So HapMap samples are in a consortium where they have European HapMap sample, Chinese HapMap sample, African HapMap sample, and now there are subdivision of European samples. When we try to use that, we are not very happy because the Indian genome is totally different. This we have shown earlier that these are all different Indian groups. This is a European HapMap sample. This is a Chinese HapMap sample. You see that within India, you have Dravidian cluster is here, Indo-European cluster is here, Austroasiatic cluster here. And this is an Australian Aboriginal here, and this is one of the tribal groups. Okay. So within India, we have huge amount of diversity. We can speak this for several hours, so I am not going into detail. So the important point, what I wanted to make it, we cannot really use other HapMap sample or sample from other country or continent to impute the missing genotype. Okay. So to do that, what we did, we initially masked some of the genotype, which we know that we got the result, but we masked that. Then try to fetch the phenotype using the HapMap reference panel, but there were some failed. Okay, some are matching, some are not really matching. Okay, so therefore we thought that we should generate our own reference panel. Okay, so we used different populations belonging to Dravidian and Indo-European. These are the two major groups, founding groups, called ancestral South Indian, people who are living in South India, ancestral North Indian. Of course, these two groups have admixed about 2000 to 4000 years back, because we are all admixed now. So we used these groups and used 5 family, parents and either 1 or 2 children, generated the genotype, then used another set of samples, all belongs to Austroasiatic, Dravidians and Indo-European, many more. And these are the number of samples. Then try to impute and see whether how this looks like, and use that as a reference panel. Then we try to use the reference panel and try to fetch the missing phenotype, and when you mask 2% of the data, the Indian reference panel which we developed, you can see is much better frequency wise than the HapMap sample. Even if you include HapMap sample and Indian sample, That's also not better than our own panel. And this is 5% data when we masked, still it's better, and when we used 10%, you can see the difference. Although the frequency wise much different because we used 1 million marker. After that 10, 20 is missing also, it makes a lot more difference. Then we use the South Asian data, because unfortunately the 1000 Genome Project, after sequencing the human genome, then they formed different consortium, HapMap consortium, then the 1000 Genome Project, they sequenced 1000 individuals from different continent, and in fact we're supposed to contribute 400 Indian genome to that 4 different linguistic families, but somehow it did not materialize there. But now they have 1000 Genome Project and used that South Asian population, although Indians is missing. People say that if we use other South Asian, we can equalize or compare with Indian genome, but that's not really true. So what we see, again there's a difference here. You can see still there's a difference in 5% of the genome. And you can see that it's even more when they used 10%, when we used 10%. The reason is the people who are living in other countries like US or other Europeans, although they are Indians, but the problem is that they are admixed now. The first generation goes, they may be with the pure Indian genome, but after several generations, they admix and they become, the genome become more of the local where they are living. So this is one example which I can show that these are all Indians. Again the PCA plot. These ones are Gujarati Indians living in US. And now you can see that there are 2 clusters. One cluster is with Indians, other cluster is separate. Okay. So that indicates they are completely admixed. They carry, at least some of them, they still carry the Indian genome, and half of them, they don't have much of Indian contribution. They have contribution from other countries. So if you use this as a reference panel, naturally we don't get right information. So therefore we should always use the Indian data as a reference panel. So now we develop, and that has been now in the CCMB website. If somebody want, they can download and use it. So this is different. So coming back to the Ayurvedic samples, so I showed the clusters of Indian populations, and there are a large number of populations are used here. The PCA, you can see that this is the Indian, Indo-European cluster, Dravidian cluster, Austroasiatic, and Tibetan. These are 4 linguistic families. When we projected all the 3 Prakriti samples, when we projected Vata, you can see that more or less they are falling between Indo-European and Dravidian cluster. Again, Pitta sample, the yellow ones, they are falling here. And Kapha, again, they are falling here. But there are few which are falling somewhere in between this Indo-European and Dravidian cluster and Tibetan cluster. That means there are few samples or come from either northeast population who are the Tibeto-Burmans, okay, and probably they are admixed with the other Indian group, therefore they are falling here. So when we did PCA, after removing large number of markers which are not polymorphic and which are some are missing, we end up with 405,000 SNPs, and we did the principal component analysis. So now you see that all of them are forming one cluster here. Okay, but this is because there are some samples which is very far. That could be because of the few samples which are away from the main Indo-European and Dravidian clusters. Then the second stage, we remove this is the outlier. Then you can see that all of them, there's no structure in this case. Okay. Whereas in the population sample, you have seen every population forming a cluster. But here, because these samples are random samples, but they are not forming any clusters. So now use those markers which we have here, 4,000 and 5,000 markers. Then we started various analysis, but finally we end up with this model. Usually when we do case control study, we use patient sample and the control sample. So whatever the difference we see, we attribute that as a cause for the genetic disease. But in this case, all are normal, all males, and more or less they are of the same age group. Okay. So we used Pitta as one group that combined other two groups, Vata and Kapha. Then we thought that whatever the genotype is present here might be absent here, or the frequency of the genotype may be either more or less here, and this should be other way around here. So the idea is to look for the marker which are genotypically different or the frequency is different. Same way we combined Pitta and Kapha here and used Vata. Here we used Kapha and combined Pitta and Vata. And these are the number of markers, and you can see the p-values are not very high but significantly different. Then we used Manhattan plot the same way. So we also wanted to look at using different statistical methods. In Manhattan plot and see that again Vata versus Kapha and Pitta. So these are different chromosomes, and this also has mitochondrial DNA markers. And this is a p-value, but you see that these are the markers which are common. The p-value is not significantly different, but this is a cutoff value. Then you can see there are few markers which are different in Vata compared to the combination of Pitta and Kapha. Okay. So these are the markers which we used for further analysis. Same way the QT plot, you can see that more or less they are common, but there are very few markers which are deviating, and these are the one here. Okay. And these are the markers. Finally we end up with 22 markers which are significantly different, and these are the genes where these markers are present, and these are the minor allele, and we have Prakriti 1 and Prakriti 2. For example, here you see that this marker C allele is present at very low frequency here, but in another individuals in other two Prakriti have that allele. Okay. Similarly here you have different frequencies, the 20% here, 6% here. So then we should also have a confidence of the data which we got. So to do that, we did 1 million time permutation, okay, and see whether all the analysis is positive or not, and what is the final p-value. And all of them have passed the permutation, then the p-value is not much different. The 2.60 before the permutation analysis with 1 million time, then after that 2.5 into 10 to the power minus 5. Okay. So this seems to be consistent even after permutation. Now we end up with 20 SNPs whose genotype is totally different in Vata compared to other two phenotype, other two pregnant. Same way, here we used Pitta versus Vata and Kapha, again the markers, the same way we end up with that, and here slightly higher, p-value is 1.27 into 10 to the power minus 5, here 2 into 10 to the power minus 5, so slight difference, but more or less is the same. And here we end up with 17 markers. Same way for Kapha versus Vata and Pitta, we have now 15 markers. Then we thought that using one statistical method, whether we have some kind of biasness or not. So we used different method. This is the original method we used. Then AgentStart is another one. EMMax, GCTA is another method we used, and looked at all of them are almost same, not much different except here. Okay. Then we segregated the data center-wise, 3 centers. Again, we have seen not much difference between the centers. So the data is consistent between the centers. Then finally, we use those 52 markers which I selected. I told initially for each group there's a marker which are either the genotype is significantly different or totally absent. Then we did the PCA, principal component analysis. Now you see that we could able to cluster the individuals based on the Prakriti. This is Vata, this one, this is Pitta, and this is Kapha. Okay. And this cluster is irrespective of their ancestry or language or so on. And initial slide which I showed, that if you take population from different region or with a different ancestral background, if you analyze with 1 million markers, you can actually cluster every individual into every population as a separate cluster. Because the Indian population structure is different, we have been following endogamy marriage practice, therefore every group accumulated unique set of mutation. Those mutations are the one which differentiate at the population level. But now, these are the random individuals distributed, collected from all over India, although mostly concentrated on southern and southwestern part. But now you see the marker which been picked up after this thorough analysis. Now it is not grouping based on the ancestry, it is grouping based on the Prakriti, Vata, Pitta and Kapha. Okay. So at least now we have evidence that whatever our forefathers were classifying the individuals based on so much of characteristic features. Of course, all the characters also have genetic basis. So that way, it is appropriate that the classification should have some genetic basis. Then we put one of our individuals' DNA along with this, and this is a sample, and try to assess what is the Prakriti of that person. So it is a Kapha and Pitta dominant, therefore somewhere following here. Then we also used different population sample within the cluster. We used different population group. This you can see the circle, rectangle, and so on. You can see that although these two individuals belongs to one particular caste, but they are falling into different Prakriti. If you use without these markers, 1 million markers, they should not cluster. Actually, they will be in one cluster because ancestry wise they are on the same. But now what you say that these markers which are differentiating based on the Prakriti. Similarly, here you have two samples, the two different Prakritis. Then we also thought that we should look into some of the functional characteristics of the Prakritis. Because the 1 million markers have been picked up from different genes, and some are in non-coding region, some are in the gene, some are in exon, some are in the intron. Then when we did the analysis, we picked up the Pitta, which is constituted by fire with high metabolic rate. So that is more associated with a gene called PGM1. And the function of PGM1 is involving in large number of metabolism. Starch and sucrose metabolism, amino acid sugar or nucleotide sugar metabolic pathway, here glycolysis. So mostly it is in sugar metabolism. Okay. So this gene is involved in high metabolism, and these Pitta individuals are with high metabolic rate. Then we looked at the haplotype. These are all non-coding sequences. So we picked up 4 SNPs which are in LD, therefore the frequency is almost the same in Pitta Prakriti compared to Vata and Kapha. Okay. Again, the same way we did all the analysis. Then we thought that although these are all non-coding sequences, they are in LD, we thought that there could be some gene mutation in the gene which is associated with this, because all the 4 are non-coding sequences. Then we sequence this region, PGM1 and its flanking region, using ion torrent by NGS method, because targeted resequencing of this. And one SNP is a non-synonymous one, tyrosine 2 histidine, that is showing low p-value in Pitta Prakriti compared to other 2 Prakritis. Of course, little bit bioinformatics analysis we did, shift score is looks like damage. Then we sequenced the region in large number of individuals using Sanger sequencing method. And you can see that the T is wild type, this is the mutant, homozygous mutant, and you have heterozygous mutant here. Then we calculated all these and you can see that the p-value of Pitta versus other 2 when compared is a 0.006. Of course, not very high, although the sample size is very less, but it's statistically significant. Here, in the second aspect, we are correlating the phenotype with their genotype. And this shows that the LD of this non-synonymous SNPs with the other 4 SNPs, and this is highly conserved across species, okay, where this site is the mutants wild type T2C, but you can see that is across organism is highly conserved. So it shows that the mutation is very, very important. So all these put together, we published that very recently in scientific report. In conclusion, we can say that 52 SNPs which we used for constructing the PC plot is sufficient to significantly differentiate 3 dosa prakritis, that is Vata, Pitta and Kapha, despite individuals from different ethnic, linguistic and geographical background, which I showed in the map. These 52 SNP is segregating the individual. The PGM1 gene involved in several metabolic activities is significantly associated with the Pitta Prakriti, which correlates the phenotype and the genotype. So I would like to thank all those who involved in this study from CCMB. They are the project staff and my PhD student and Ayurvedic physician from all the 3 centers which I mentioned. This is particularly from Pune and not Pune, this is from Bangalore and Udupi. From Pune, these 2 from Manipal University, Satyamurthy, Gopinath and their associates, and they are from Indian Institute of Science. Of course, there are 2 more major activities in which they are involved. And Bapat is the one who was actually involved connecting between the PSA office and finally I must thank Professor Validan, who is inspiration and who is actually mentoring this and made us to involved in this study. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Congrats. Questions, suggestions, comments?
So once these 52 SNPs were established, I wonder whether you had a chance to move against the first 2 levels of prediction, whatever the doctors may have diagnosed or the software may diagnose. You may find it is a different, the person is from a different dosha.
No, we didn't use. There are some individuals who are falling somewhere in the middle actually. So what we thought, we didn't go back and looked at. So there are some individuals actually falling in Pitta Prakriti. So we don't know the real problem, whether there's a problem with assessment or
Borderline case.
Yeah, there are some borderline, that's okay. But the assessment of Prakriti for these individuals are really difficult. Yeah. So we need to do large sample. Now we have known that 52 SNP, that we can select large number of samples. And these samples also, after screening, 3,000 plus samples. So one has to have large number of samples to have one Prakriti which is predominant or more than 60 or 70%.
You have used the total genome. Did you include the mitochondrial genome also?
No, we didn't include
The nuclear.
only.
And were there any close relatives in the group of subjects?
They are all students, they are all from different places. There is no familial cases.
Would you expect, if you have close relatives, would you expect these 52 SNPs to be?
That is because every generation we expect that is going to be only 50% from each of the parents. So we don't, in fact, 100% expect that all the family members will fall in one bracket. Because the genome is different. We all inherit 50% from the father, 50% from the mother. Father is Vata, mother is Pitta. Then obviously how the chromosomes are segregated and going to the next generation. So that's what differentiates. So maybe a good idea to look into all the family. I don't know, but before going into that, Ayurveda physicians are the one who can initially tell that whether all the individuals, the same family, will have the same Prakriti. If the Prakriti is different, then obviously we can expect different genotype.